I'm a pretty avid backpacker in the Pacific Northwest. Sometimes I hike for days on end without seeing a person. I think it's exhilarating being alone. There's really no feeling like it. You get used to it. But personally, I can never help but to be on edge. The environment is completely serene and friendly, but there's a constant feeling in the back of your mind. It's hard to put your finger on it. Most of the time, you'll be chugging along, comfortable in your own mind, but when you stop for a rest, to fill up on water, you can't help but to look over your shoulder. Nothing bothers me much out in the woods. I've ran into brown bears, had an elk trample through my camp late at night, and a lot more. But one night was different. I was in a deep backwoods hike. It was in the late fall, so in the off season. It was pretty cold, but it hadn't started to snow yet. I like that. In fact, I usually plan my trips this way. The forest ranger and I talked when I was organizing my trip. She said I was the only hiker that she knew who would be up there at that time. I was using dispersed camping sites so far off the beaten path that they didn't even have fire pits. That night, it was about 5 or 6 miles from the trail. I set up a camp about 100 yards from a stream. It was close enough that I could hear it. I lit a fire, cooked my dinner, read for a while, and I was settling down to sleep. I lay listening for a while, listening to the sounds of the woods and of the creek, and I was just starting to nod off. Then I think I hear voices. Not distinct, no clear words, but it was clearly a group of people having a good time. They were laughing, maybe telling stories around a campfire. Now, I had a feeling of dread come over me. I thought I should not leave the tent. Fear like I've never felt before. It just engulfed me. All the hairs on my arms and legs and on the back of my neck just stood up on end. I laid there for a while in panic. The voices carried on laughing indistinctly. After a while, they receded into the background noise. I still didn't leave the tent. I was too afraid. The next morning, after a short night's sleep, I searched the surrounding area and the path to the site. There was a few shoe prints, but they were faded and worn, so they were too old, especially from the size of the group that I heard. I tried to shrug it off as nerves. Maybe nervousness got the best of me, but I couldn't shake a certain tension. I made good time to the next site. It was during the last of the trip. I was looking around a little more than usual. Still no one to be seen. This site had no stream. Now, dry camping isn't a blast, but it's doable. That's if you pack enough water for cooking and drinking. It was a lot quieter. Just the chirps of bugs and the wind rustling through the trees. I cooked my dinner, and I stayed up a good while after dark. I was looking at the stars and listening to the sounds of the forest, trying to hear the voices from the night before. But there was nothing. I turned in for the night. I was restless for what felt like hours. Finally, this calm came over me, and then it was back. Nothing threatening or even scary. Just the sound of a group of 15 to 20 people having a good time. I could barely hear it from the background noise. This time I'm calm. There's what seems to be an internal dialogue in the back of my mind. Why not join them? Sounds like they're having fun. I'd really rather stay here. This was entirely unconscious. This goes on for a while. I've never experienced anything like this. I was starting to worry that I lost it. After a time, the noises faded away and went straight to white noise. I finally felt like I was alone. The next day, I packed up as quickly as I could, and I headed back. During the day, I was more at ease, like I'd always been in the past. I was relieved when I got to the car, and I started back home. I told this story a few times, and every time, I felt a little of that dread from the first night. I really had no reason to feel strongly about it. I just heard strange noises in the forest, nothing extraordinary, but I felt it. On one occasion, I told the story to my teacher, who is native. He got quiet for a minute. Then he said that I ran into stick Indians. He said that it was a good thing that I didn't leave the tent. Stick Indians are believed to be evil and dangerous beings. spirit creatures that preyed on children and women. The look on his face was sober. He told me not to go back to that place again. These spirits are extremely aggressive, and they attack to kill on the slightest provocation, including even saying their Salish name, which he refused to do. Whenever the subject came up, I got that same fear in me. As I write this 1,000 miles away from the site, my arms are still quaking. Thank you for joining me for this short. I found this story that is allegedly true. As a matter of fact, the book that I was reading this from also included a story that Lazy Masquerade read. I only realized it after I read through the entire thing and I saw all the similarities, and the tale was the same, the wording was the same, and everything. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll probably do quite a few shorts. But thanks for listening. Special thanks to my patrons. And until next time, this is Dallas, signing off.